Hello, welcome to Penguins Wanderlust. We're here with Jessica Cohen, and she's going to talk about her Tarot of the Waste. And her name here at Wasteland Weekend is Yaga. Is there a story behind your name?
I chose Yaga because it's the first name of Baba Yaga, the Russian and Slavic witch. And I loved her because there are lots of stories about Yaga, but there's also lots of stories where Yaga just shows up and gives information or sets people on paths and sometimes renders fairly harsh judgment. And I like that she's multifaceted, that she's not just a witch that, eats kids in a gingerbread house, and that she's a reoccurring and almost elemental force in that part of the world.
Is she actually a bad guy?
Yeah. She, curses people and eats people on occasion, so that's, pretty bad. But she also serves other purposes. I think that she is sort of an elemental force of both creation and destruction for that part of the world, sort of almost a Kali figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I bought Jessica's Tarot of the Waste. And it comes in this beautiful little bag here. What's the meaning of the emblem on it?
The symbol is actually my personal symbol for that deck. So I made it with I made it while working with my tribe.
Right.
So it has the cimotA symbol on the back of the cards themselves.
Oh, on each one.
Yeah. So the back of the card looks like this. And then my personal symbol for the deck is this. So it's the all-seeing eye inside the hand. So the hand speaks for lots of different kinds of crafts and abilities. But in this case, both the eye and the hand are powerful symbols for fortune telling and
so are these
augury.
Flames?
And these are flames.
Oh, okay.
And for me, the flames are always about like a creative spirit, or sometimes, for some people it would be, I don't know, like the God's head, something that fires and inspires you. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And is that like a signpost on the bottom part?
This glyph, it's a glyph I created with a whole series of glyphs for our personal use within the tribe, but this is the glyph that represents all of us together.
Oh, that's nice. Cool. You had told me briefly yesterday that you decided to create tarot cards instead of oracle cards.
Yes. So oracle cards are a lot more open. You can do a lot of different things with oracle cards, and there are no real constraints. In general, they tend to have an overarching theme, but not necessarily contain a journey and an outcome. And what was important to me about tarot was that the heart of tarot is the journey and the outcome, and all the steps that go into the journey. And so it's a deck based on the idea of a hero journey, basically, and that speaks to me profoundly. And I find that life is just a series of learning experiences, and then if you're lucky, you level up, but you'll keep leveling up on different levels in different ways in different parts of your life, your whole life. If you're lucky, it'll constantly be that learning experience. And if you become stagnant, I feel like you're missing part of what's the important part of being a human. And so not too settled in your ways has always struck me as the way to be.
Oh, nice.
So that was the idea of using the tarot, is I felt like that tradition, I wanted to honor it, and I felt like Wasteland loaned itself the idea of a hero's journey, very much so. The post-apocalyptic genre loaned itself to a hero's journey, and once I started thinking about it, and all of the symbols that I had seen as a child and grown up watching in movies and reading in books, I'm a really voracious reader, that this whole space was meant for a tarot deck as opposed to an oracle deck. So that's what I went with.
So an oracle deck doesn't have a set number?
It doesn't necessarily have a set number. It doesn't necessarily have a set system. It should be internally cohesive, but it also doesn't. It just doesn't have the same richness
Does it
and
have the
history.
same
No,
history?
it's a new invention. I
Oh,
mean,
it's a new-
it's
oh.
developing its own history, but it's a fairly new invention.
What was the first tarot card that you created?
I think that the very first card I created was the Seeress, which is one of my favorite cards. So that's the Seer. And then shortly thereafter, I created the Wanderer, which is the card that for me absolutely solidified that it was going to be in Wasteland. And then as soon as that happened, they just started to pour out of my hands. They were easy to conceive of. It takes longer to actually produce them, but
Yeah.
once I have the picture, I know where I'm going. And so for me, that part is the beginning of everything. Is how clearly can I see what it's going to be before I even get there.
Right.
So you're
and-
pulling out the Wanderer.
Yeah, the Wanderer was the
Yes.
one.
Yes.
So that's the one that's the
it's the Fool.
and in your case it's Max with his dog.
I did not say that specifically, but I
Oh,
purposely
sorry,
drew it.
sorry.
I purposely drew it, and
Forget
so I try to keep just a little bit of the inspiration of the original tarot
Right.
and everything. So traditionally, the Fool is always shown with a small white dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the dog's focus will be on the Fool, and the Fool will be walking in a carefree manner in a place where it's conceivable he could fall off a cliff or off a rock or something, and the dog is focused on him. So the dog usually stands for fidelity and loyalty and exuberance. And in this case, I did a drawing of an Australian Shepherd, which was with the kind of dog that appeared in the original Mad Max movie. Made a larger dog, but this dog is looking back at the viewer and is kind of guarding the back of the Wanderer, who's staring out over the wasteland. And I feel like nobody comes to the wasteland in absolute innocent, but when you make it out to the waste, whatever your experiences are, they may or may not be of any value in this new environment. So even though you carry so much with you, possibly the weight of great loss, you're going to step onto the waste and you're going to just have to go with what's happening and make what you've had to strengthen you work here. But there are no guarantees. And so this dog, instead of being just exuberant, is more watchful. And I had a dog who I love very much, who had a lot of cattle dog in her. And she was a dog who constantly checked perimeters and really wanted to be sure that her humans were herded together and behaving like sane people, in her dog opinion. And I really felt like that was the kind of dog you would take into Wasteland, is a dog who was, taking no crazy human crap and making sure that at all the edges, as much as it was within her power, she was taking care of that stuff.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's how I came to that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Which is your favorite card?
Oh, that's so hard. I like a few cards for really different reasons, but Warrior Queen, that was the one that just came pouring out of my hands. I couldn't stop myself. I just knew it and drew it immediately. And then I was done and I realized, oh, this looks exactly like my girlfriend Tim. And in my head that makes sense, because Timmy's always struck me as a warrior queen. Like when I see her, I always think, oh my God, well if there were Amazons, if there was a Themyscira, Timmy's in charge of shit there. And it was great to do it and have it be really organic for me, and then look at it later and say, yeah, that looks so much like her, I might as well have just gotten a photograph. So, yeah. And, I think
Did you tell her?
I did. I told her, and I'm sending her a print.
Oh, nice.
And then
Very nice.
there were other cards in there though that I loved doing. Like I did a Thunderdome, which was awesome, and Death Guild allowed me to use their Thunderdome.
Oh, nice.
And
I
then
love Thunderdome.
and then I did
We
a
watched
card
it
for the
last
tower, and to take the place of the tower, and that card is Ground Zero. And I just felt, as I was making the card, it made me feel
Is it Thunderdome one?
Thunderdome came out great.
Yeah.
The tower, the Ground Zero, while I was producing it, it gave me chills, like looking at
The power.
Yeah. it was intense for me.
I like the one with the guy in charge, the bad guy that's in
The
charge.
tyrant?
Yeah, the tyrant.
Yeah.
I think I like the tyrant the best because he's hoarding all the cans of food.
Yeah, I really, I knew exactly what that card was going to be the moment I did it.
And I thought that was so unique, like just in the terms of ever seeing illustrations,
Yeah.
that it was just, totally different from
Oh,
how
thank
anybody
you.
else would do it. But it was very particular about what kind of tyrant he was, and it's
Yeah.
very, I think, powerful that way.
Well, I wanted it, and I feel like in an environment where so many resources have been depleted to the point of non-existence, and when we're still hoarding, food that our ancestors put aside, that the idea that you would be able to control others through hunger and fear is really important, and the card Tyrant is really about relationships you may enter into based on fear and based on a feeling of scarcity, and how easy it is to sell yourself for even a familiar evil, and that it's both valid and consistently true for almost everyone. Everyone does a version of it at some point in their lives, and that it always takes a huge amount to step away from something like that, and that in an environment where these kind of scarcities could be so specific and visceral and bodily, that would be a really cruel form of subjugation. And so for the devil, that just seemed like the way to go.
So is that what his card would?
The card traditionally would have been in the devil card.
Oh, okay.
So I kept the numbers, the Roman numerals at the top of each card,
Oh,
and that is
okay.
true for all traditional tarot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's right there.
The only thing I didn't keep the Hebrew in them.
Are they originally Hebrew tarot cards?
They, not really, no, but the language of magic has always been Hebrew.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And for a long time, scholars were almost always Hebrew who did translations from like Greek and Latin.
Oh,
So if you were really well educated and you wanted to read the original stuff, you would have to be able to read Hebrew, Greek, and Latin.
how did you choose what to put on each picture?
It just came to me. I would research a card and I would get what kind of meaning was traditional for it, and then I would focus on what that would mean here. So did it apply at all? And if it did apply, how did it apply? Like we just discussed the tyrant. So the devil card is about servitude, but servitude that you had to go into yourself. And having also, maybe you didn't go into it yourself, but like if you were being blackmailed, like doing something because of fear of the outcome of not doing it as opposed to doing what you know is the right thing for you. And I was thinking about, well, how would that happen out here? And then I thought, well, somebody has all the food and all the water. You do what they tell you to do.
Otherwise, you're just not going to survive.
And then especially in an environment where you can't control your own body. I guess the deck is also really informed by what I feel is happening socially and politically in the world. So in the Tyrant card, there are waifish women holding pale children all around the throne. And if there's somebody who controls all the food and all the water, and you're pregnant, what do you do? And you can't control your own body in this environment. If you're raped or something bad happens, it will immediately affect your body and then possibly give you another body to have to maintain. And then what happens for them? It's one thing to choose to starve when you're by yourself. It's another thing to watch a child suffer. So, and how easily women are subjugated because of this basic bodily function. Like, probably 90% of our bodies is actually engineered around the idea that internally we carry a container, and that we're going to then use some large portion of our internal resources to gestate something in that container. So we have to be aware of that container all the time, whether we choose to do it or not, whether we have any intention of being a parent, whether we have any intention of even staying women. We still have to be aware of the container because our bodies are built around it. So in a vulnerable situation where you can't be 100% in control of your environment, control of your body becomes almost a privilege. And that's happening in that card for me as well.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
It's a tarot deck.
What is your process when you're making them?
I do drawings first. I draw in black colored pencil on white paper, so I can get a wide range of grays, and it's freehand and mostly out of my head. And then I scan them, and then I collage together from found copyright-free photos, environments. Usually there's no single photo used. There's tiny pieces of copyright-free work that I've collaged together to create an environment, and then I layer in my drawing. Then I print at large scale, then I paint on top of it, and then I scan it again, and then I manipulate it.
So how long does that take?
It depends on whether or not I'm having a good day. If things go really well, I can do a whole card in a day, and sometimes things just don't go well and it takes me a few days. Like, I'll fuss with it till I get really what I am holding in my head, and then sometimes I have a great picture in my head, turns out to make a shitty card. It just compositionally does not hold together. So I have to be aware of the composition of the card and the symbolism of the card. And then if I add in more components, like I'm offering spaces in the deck where you can be a tarot card. And I'm charging for that because now I've added the level of a portrait in. Because I don't think anyone would want to be in it unless I could make it really look like them. So portraits are difficult, and then
they're time consuming.
They're time consuming, and then that's a whole new element to the design.
They told us in art school it's easier to do caricatures than portraits.
Yes.
Because in a portrait, if they're paying you, they expect it to look like them. If you're just drawing them like at life drawing, then it doesn't matter. You do it for you.
Right.
But if you're doing a caricature, there's none of that expectation that it's going to actually look like them.
Yes, absolutely. And also, my experience with portraits and going to art school is that there are some people who just have this knack, like they get it. Somehow their eye sees. And for me, it's a hit and miss. And it's always been a hit and miss. And I can eventually get to it, but I may have to do it multiple times to get to a place where I'm satisfied and I feel like the client should be satisfied.
Yeah. So we've sort of covered quite a lot here about the tarot and Jessica's art. And I suggest you check out her websites and order yourself a set of her Tarot of the Wastes. Because I think post-apocalyptic tarot cards are pretty cool.
It's been wonderful.
I'm going to have to learn how to use them. But thank you so much for coming on my little
thank you
video.
for having me. It was lovely.
So thank you. Bye!